Hey, it's Adam here, your host of the Smart Business Show, along with the Tim Chesonis. And today we are going to be talking about why marketing is failing people. I'm actually pretty excited about this episode.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, so a lot of people are so concerned about the gimmick, the gimmicky things around marketing. Like the tactic. I got to be able to post on social one time a day. I have to be able to email my list every day. I have to be able to all the other million things that you can do in your marketing. And a lot of times it's just the tactics aren't working, but then you see somebody who has all they use is Instagram and they're generating so many leads that they can't even take it all. Why does this happen?
It's because of marketing, I think. We find these new things that work. There's an entrepreneur or business owner who finds something that worked for them, and then they attach some cool, hot name to it, and then they sell that, and then the marketplace will think, okay, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And because of the internet, because of social media, it's easy to spread your message. And so it has that trickle effect across the internet.
Right.
And so more and more people get exposed to it, thinking it's you have to do it in your business.
Right.
It's just this one thing that happened.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's what I see a lot of times. People, they see everyone podcasting and blogging, and then there's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Everyone's trying to do it all because they saw their favorite influencer do it all. And their message is not, there's no depth to their message. There's no connection because they're pumping out content so quickly and none of it's really thought out, none of it's really connecting. And so a lot of that messaging goes down the drain and people are thinking, man, I'm spending all this time and money on marketing, but none of it's working. Yep. So what do we do in that case? Well, I really like the dream to drain the doubt. I think that really captivates how to really connect with your audience and your message. In fact, Tim has done a great job with, Tim actually, we work together and we build a lot of webinars out together. We build presentations together and also focus on a lot of content. And one of the things that we've been able to do successfully is this what we call the 3D communication. Why don't you tell them a little bit about how that works?
So within your messaging, when you're talking to your audience, you want to understand, first of all, your market and your audience's dreams, right? What their goals are, their aspirations, what they want. And that's what most people know. That's the dream. Next, we have to understand what things are getting in their way, right? Whether it's Facebook ads not working, they don't want to do, they don't want to jump on the call. What drains their energy just thinking about doing it? You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want to go to the gym just to lose this 30 pounds, right? Yeah. Things like that. So that's the drain. So now we got the dream, the drain. The last one's the doubt. These are all the insecurities that your market's not really telling anyone else. So we have to step into their head and think, what are the insecurities my audience has? So when they're looking at the dream, their goals, they're like, this is great, but I've never been able to do that. This has always gotten in the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And really connecting.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times when, there's a lot of marketers who appeal to the dream. Like, if you're in the make money space, then, say, well, you can be able to, become financially free. And they use these general terms or general language, and it just doesn't speak to people because it's almost like you're like, I like to use the analogy that people I talk to life coaches like, oh, I'll help you fulfill your purpose. I'm like, are you God? You know what I mean? Like that's just the BS radar goes off, and you're like, this person cannot do that because it's just too big of a promise. Yeah. So, I think it's really important when you're talking about the dream to have very specific outcomes. So I was talking to a life coach the other day, and I said, how about instead of helping people, live their best life, right? Or she was trying to help people become more confident and more in alignment with, with themselves. I said, how about we say, I can help you, reach your most confident self, regardless of your past experiences. Or something like that. It was like, talk about that, the dream, the drain. He's the master copywriter, by the way. So
So a simple framework you can use is, and this is usually if I'm coming up with blank page syndrome and I'm just staring at a blinking cursor and I don't know what to write, I'll just write this out. I'll write how to, and then in brackets I'll write the words the dream, without, and then in brackets the drain, even if, and then in brackets, the doubt, right? And that gives me a good starting point to figure out, because we want to be, like you said, you don't want to be vague. You don't want to be, I'll help you fulfill your
Right.
purpose. You're like,
Right.
what does that even mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I'll help you become financially free.
Yeah.
I'll help you travel the world. I'll help you, all these generic things.
Exactly. So when you hone in on this, you can be specific to the outcome, right? How to lose 30 pounds in 30 days while I don't know, eating bacon.
Yeah.
Like specific things,
Right,
without
right.
giving up bacon or your favorite foods.
Yeah, without giving up bacon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even
I
if
like
you've
that.
been overweight your entire life.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Because that's an
That's good.
insecurity. I've always been overweight my entire life. My business, I've never gotten my business to work. I've never been able to break
Right.
10K a month.
Yep.
Those are the insecurities.
Yep, absolutely.
So
Yeah, that's good. And I think a lot of like people are afraid to touch on those insecurities because they're afraid to push the button, I think.
Yeah.
But that's really what speaks to people because you're getting it, like you said, into their world as far as what they're dealing with. Like I was actually working on a marketing campaign a few years back, and it was for a weight loss. It was a weight loss program, and we were talking about some of the insecurities that someone's going through. It's like they're afraid that people are whispering behind them while they're walking on the beach. Because they don't feel confident,
Yeah.
and their people are talking about them. They're having a hard time squeezing into the seats in the airplane, and people are talking about them and making faces and things like that. And so we began to address that in the copy of the real scenarios that people are going through around this area around weight loss, and their reality and what they're dealing with. And it was really impactful to be able to speak directly to that target versus like, hey, do you want to lose weight? You can live your best life and and have more confidence and energy. It's like everybody says that.
Yep.
But then if they read the specific examples of what they're really going through, they're going to connect a lot more.
Yeah. I want to touch on that. One of the most important lessons that I learned in copywriting, and this goes for writing your message, coming up with ad ideas, products even. I learned this from the late, great Robert Collier. He died back in long decades ago. But he has this book, and in that book, the one key thing I took out of that was you want to enter the conversation that's already going on in your market's head.
That's good.
Right? So like you said, they're walking all on the beach, insecure. Well, what are those insecure? What are they telling themselves? What's the conversation going on in their mind right now? And when you enter that, then you can have a conversation with them through your messaging. Because that's all your messaging is. It's a conversation between you and your market.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. And I think a big part of, why marketing is failing people is also because people aren't consistent, right? Like they're show up here, they'll show up there. That's one of the actual triggers. I was actually overlooking the book that you had the other day, and one of the triggers was consistency.
Yeah.
What is that about? What would you say?
So consistent messaging within your market, and this has to do. It's more relevant today than ever, simply because of the internet, because of social media, because of all the gurus out there saying all this stuff. There's more noise,
right?
And so when you are consistent, and then maybe you take off a week and you're not either posting or emailing or being in contact with your market, they forget about you.
That's right.
Like that's just the reality.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people aren't laying on their head on their pillow going, oh, you know what? I wonder what Adam's doing right now. They don't care, right? All they care about is themselves.
In that moment.
Exactly.
That
so when they
moment.
log in, they see their feed, and you're not there, they've already forgotten about you.
Yeah, that's so good.
You know what I mean?
That's so good. And I think a lot of times we're afraid to be consistent with the same message over and over and over again because we're like, I already said this. But that's how you know your messaging is really strong, is it should sound old to you, but new to somebody else.
Yes.
And so you're sharing it over and over and over again. It's old to you, new to somebody else. That's how you know you're doing something right, because you're repeating it over and over and over again. So that's key. And I think we need to be able to give ourselves permission to share that message over and over and over again.
Yeah, you'll get tired of your message before your audience even comes close. There's been times where I've heard a message 4 or 5 times from people I learned from, and it took that 4th, 5th, 6th time for it to actually click for me.
That's good.
Yeah,
because it's multiple points of contact, right? I mean, it's
exactly.
like, and that number's even going up now,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
because there's so much competition. I mean, it's taking, you have to watch so many ads, watch so many videos of people. And that's why I think retargeting is so key as well, because, with our retargeting, this is a really great tool for messaging, because now people are landing on our blogs, they're getting retargeted. then they're seeing us on Facebook, they're seeing us on Instagram, and it's just like this whole entire like circular of what they call viralocity,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like every piece of your marketing is being tracked, and it's like the same messaging,
Yeah.
over and over and over again. And that's
Yep.
part of branding, right? It's like part of being known for something, and I think that's really key.
Exactly. Yeah. And what you were talking about there, because there's so many people online and your messaging needs to get out there, it's causing more and more confusion in the marketplace. And I think that's why it's important to stay consistent with your message and planting your flag for what you believe in, what your purpose is, who you're helping, how you're helping them. And you just say that over and over. That way it becomes clear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's another reason why it's getting more difficult and we need more touch points because of that confusion that's happening in the marketplace. In most marketplaces, the big ones, financial, health, relationships, whether that's, in business, make money market, lose weight, all that.
Yep.
It's so crowded. There's just a lot of confusion. And so that's what's causing the increase in touch points that have to happen.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of marketers or even entrepreneurs understand the concept of touch points, and so then they're running a lot of ads, they're doing a lot of activities, but they're not seeing result because they're so obsessed around the tactic or strategy, and they're not spending enough time really stopping to think. And this is something you and I talk a lot about, is like when something's not working, like you literally have to just take time to just think, like what am I actually doing here? Like, what am I actually doing to connect with my prospects? And when you realize at the end of it, like, and you spend that time, you're like, okay, I see, like, I'm not being known for my message. I'm more concerned about just throwing all these opt-ins and freemiums out there, and I'm just throwing mud against the wall hoping it sticks. But like, what is my actual message? Who am I going after? Because you're going to want to be consistent with that message over and over and over again, and you want to be known for your message. I think that's so key. It's not about just throwing an ad up there or a post, but like, what is the message? And then you can like reverse engineer your content to make sure that that's all in alignment. It's so key.
Knowing what to put out there for that right person. It's not always about having to put a tripwire out there.
Right.
It's not always about, giving away a free thing to get a lead.
That's right. Exactly.
Though you have to sit down and think, who am I serving? How am I serving them? And how am I going to serve them the best? What's the best thing I could put in front of them that will attract them?
Right.
Right? Just because it's free doesn't mean it's going to attract everybody.
That's right. Exactly.
Like, usually I see free stuff, I'm like,
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's important too to think about.
And we're not against free.
Yeah.
It's just that what is the free thing about?
When is it the right time to use it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And is it something that my market really wants, or am I just creating a tool to try and get somebody into something? I think that's key.
Another thing too is thinking about your own business. Do you want a list of free leads or do you want a list of customers? So that's something you also want to sit down and think about for your own business.
Definitely.
It might not work for your business to have 20,000 leads on your list who never bought anything.
That's so true.
You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly.
They'll eventually buy something.
Right.
Or do you want...
And I even noticed, like, even within our agency, one of the things that made a big difference and shift is when we started actually charging for blueprints. That's been a great filter. And so I was always like so obsessed with like doing these free consulting calls, and then from there showing them what we could build with our agency. But making the shift to charge for the blueprint actually has been amazing for two reasons. One is because they're invested, right? And then two, we're now able to spend more time drawing out and building out clarity, so then now when they're investing, they know what they're investing in. And I used to do that for free, and I wouldn't really, it was tough because like they didn't really value it, and then I spent a whole time, all my time and then it wouldn't turn into anything. So even coming up with the blueprints have been a game changer for us. So it's like really knowing your market and like, is it the free thing that they need, or maybe they need to start out by paying you off the bat. Maybe your market needs to pay you for a small course before they get into your bigger courses. Maybe they need to pay you for your consultations instead of you giving away free strategy calls. Like, I think that's really where people are at. They don't want so much free information. They want the result.
We're in the transformation age, not the information age.
That's right.
Because there's so much free information out there, and people are valuing things that they buy. Right. They value it. They're going to show up. Like, if you're giving away free things, throw a price tag on it. Throw it back out there with the same ads and everything. See how that works. You'll be surprised.
Exactly.
Like you were. You're like, let's charge for this thing.
I was like, no way. And it's like, it's been the most successful thing we've done in our agency.
So there you go.
It literally changed our agency, I think, forever. Like,
oh, perfect.
Like it's crazy. You know, the conversions, everything. It's been incredible. So I think really just being able to you know, not just look at. I think you made that great point earlier on in the show today. Like that, there's so many people, there's so many influencers you're following. Just because you see them doing it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Like you have to get to the place where you're maxing out with what you have, and you have to know like is this a lane? Is this a lane you want to be in? Like for example, like we're doing a podcast show and we're doing it on video too to put on YouTube. You may say, "Oh, that's what I need to do." But you don't realize that there's a team behind this camera that's putting this together. This is costing us resources. This is costing us time. This is costing us money that you may not be at that stage in your business yet to go and do these kinds of things. For you, you may need to stay on the phones or Zoom calls or doing things that are going to bring revenue into your business, generate resources, and then you could start doing these types of things. You know, so being able to know where to spend your time and resources is so key in stepping into that awareness versus just looking at all these big influencers saying, I want that too. Like there's a time and a place for everything. And if you don't step into your own awareness, marketing is going to fail you.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. There's a lot of things I see going on social media, YouTube, all that stuff, and I've taken the time to sit down and think what's right for me.
Yeah.
What fits my personality? What do I want to do? How do I want to run my business? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for some people, for them, it's being all over social media.
Yeah.
For others, it's all about Instagram.
Right.
For some people, it's all about the YouTube.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And so it's important to sit down and think, just like when you were talking about when something doesn't work, to actually sit down and meditate on it, like think about, okay, what's going on here, instead of freaking out, right?
Right.
It's also important to take the time to sit and think, what's right for me? What's right for our business? And it'll just give you ultimate clarity.
Yeah, that clarity is key, because it's funny, even people try to imitate personalities. They're like, you know, they see, let's say the boldness of like a Grant Cardone, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to go to the meeting and I'm going to alpha them like Grant Cardone, you know? It's like, or I'm going to just try making content like Gary Vee, where I just talk and I talk over everybody and I
drop F-bombs left
drop,
and right.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to do that too. And like, you just see people trying to model after other influencers' personalities.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like it's not sustainable because it's not you, right? And so a big part of this marketing piece is like, who are you? Like you've got to figure that out in this journey. Like where are you at, and being aware of that and getting clarity on like, what's your lane? Like what's your lane, and stick to that. And I'll tell you what, if you just stay consistent doing that same message in the platform that you're at, connecting with your audience, like and you're in alignment with who you are, like people are going to start gravitating towards you for what you do, and then they're going to start modeling after you.
Yeah.
And the cycle
exactly,
continues, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's interesting how that works. But yeah, so I think at the end of the day, if we were to sum it up, Tim, I think, you know, the conclusion is that marketing is failing people because they're unaware of who they are.
Yeah.
And if you step into who you are, then, and you have clarity on what your message is and who you're targeting, then you're going to be able to win in the marketplace. So that's all that we have today for today's show. Thank you guys so much for listening here. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Leave a 7-star rating, and there's only like 5 stars, but leave 7 stars.
Leave 7. Draw one on your screen. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and let us know like what your questions are. You can follow on Instagram at AdamIMobFlores. And then, or Tim Chesonis.
Yeah, the Tim Chesonis.
Yeah, you can ask us any questions on Instagram, and then we could bring these up for the next show, and even feature your page on the next show, so that we can get some recognition as well.
Well, that's
and
cool.
we want to be able to give them some good shout outs.
Sweet.
So that's good.
They're gonna start modeling you and wearing those.
Yeah,
orange
exactly.
hats.
Everyone's gonna start wearing orange hats. So that's the last thing we need, right? Crazy. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See ya.